Hey there, sports fans. Welcome back. It's a long overdue next episode of the Dinner with the Captain. I'm John Dinner. This is Captain Steve Priolo. We've got 23 minutes, give or take. We'll probably go well over today. We've got lots to talk about, but we got 23 minutes. That's the plan of lacrosse, leadership, and life. And we start with some life this week.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. We're on March break. Cheers, pal. And big thanks to future sponsor, Lake of Bays Brewing Company, for providing a little bit of sustenance for today's episode.
That'd be nice, eh?
Mm-hmm. All right, so like I said, it's been a couple of weeks. We took a week off because you got some pretty big things. Since we last talked, we've gotten through the second segment of the season, another 5-1 segment. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then played 2 more games because of a back-to-back last weekend. Trip out to Calgary, and then some pretty interesting travel through upstate New York. So let's start. We'll go back a couple of weeks. Got the Calgary Roughnecks for a second game on a back-to-back. They had beaten you in Buffalo. Rosie got the monkey off his back in Buffalo. Not that I don't think that the Demons care what jersey you're wearing. So I'm sure he was pretty excited about that, but you guys weren't too excited about it, and then went out to the Rough House. You got to be pretty happy with the response as the captain.
Yeah, it was nice because we added Matisse and Ron John, and it felt really comfortable. That was that second game against Calgary was one of the most comfortable I've felt on defense in a long time. It just seemed like everybody was on the same page, and of course we made some mistakes, but it was easy to make adjustments, and everybody seemed to be just vibing with each other, so it was good. And they added Dane Dobie to the lineup, right? He didn't play that first game, and he's a threat from everywhere, so we had to make adjustments on him. And it was a good rebound game again.
Now, I mean, we've sort of talked about that before. When sometimes when the stars are in the lineup, it might be a little bit easier because you kind of know what to expect. Guys that you've played against for a long, long time, they run systems. You know what guys are comfortable at yet. I mean, outworldly players, and you're going to give up goals here and there. But the week previous, it was a bit of a surprise that there was a couple guys missing. You guys had to change some things and maybe didn't adjust well. They threw some balls that I think Vino would love to have back. And then we get out to Calgary and maybe a little bit more of what was expected, would you say?
Yeah, it's actually such a catch-22, right? Because you have a guy like Dane Dobie that you're not going to sit him. He's very talented. He's still one of the most elite scorers in the league. But I've played against him for 15 years, right? So there's tendencies that you can pick up, and not that it wasn't easier playing against him, but it just seems more comfortable. When Gauthier was in Buffalo, it just seemed like the ball was all over the place. We didn't know where it would be all the time. That kind of gives Curtis Dixon that green light to basically fire all he wants, and he put up 5 on us, right, in that game. So, and
that goes back to the whole Zed Williams thing, right?
Exactly,
what's the best defense is having more guys sort of surrounding Zed.
Yeah,
I mean, this takes Jackson a little bit out of things, or Dixon, thank you. Takes him because now he's got another guy to play off of, right?
Yeah. So, and Dobie wants his shots too, right?
Yeah.
And now the power play stuff, it's like, you saw Dobie on the first 2 looks in that game. In the second game against them, he just caught it and shot it, right? So it was funny actually, because I was like, man, make sure we don't let Dobie shoot. That's what I was saying in my head on the powers, and but because Jesse King was so lethal from the top of the power play against us in the first game against them, I kind of had to crouch a little more to the middle.
You can't help it, right?
You can't help it. You're like, man, this guy wants to shoot that, right? Yeah. And I know Paulie and Wires and Marty and these guys are going to soak these shots, but if I can prevent it a little bit, then it's fine. So I was maybe a full step off of him too much for that first shot, and he buried it. My stick was still on him, but he brings that twister way around. And then the next power, I was like, man, I'm going 8 inches closer to him. It's literally that, the difference between that and that. And he brings that stick way to the other side and scores. And then I was like, I'm not coming off him. The rest of the power plays, I was like, I'm a whole step now towards him more.
Yeah.
Basically giving up a shot from the top. I get the okay from the boys on the crease saying that's, let if Jesse wants to shoot that from the top, we're ready to soak that. And next thing you know, the guy Marty's standing on the crease, and Jesse King lets one fly, and right off of Marty's helmet, he's split above his eyebrow, just a big cut. And it's only one block shot, but it was a big adjustment for us and a big sacrifice for him to take that shot off the face.
Well, and I mean, again, the vaunted 3-goalie system in Buffalo. These guys soaking shots, and I think I actually
Paul had 7 in that game.
Well, and had already set the record before that game.
Yeah.
With the number of block shots. I mean, it's a recent stat, but I mean, I don't know of anybody else in the history of the game where that has actually been something that like starts the game. I want to block shots. Like I'm going out there. I mean, there's been times I've even seen him hold the stick like he's a goalie.
Yeah, it's because guys just start shooting it low, and Paul's a big guy, and he came from being a goalie, right? So he can man. It's actually so much harder. Like I think everybody in this league will block shots. I just think it's harder than. Everybody has the courage to do it.
Yep.
It's just harder to do than we think it is. To take an angle that you're not going to let that guy shoot around, but you're also tight enough to that post that you don't let him just shoot it into his regular spot or throw a twister. Like Paul reads that so well. And I think
he's staying out of the way of Vino, right? So Vino can still see things.
He can't cross that half where Vino has to be able to see through the middle.
Yeah.
Right. So exactly. Right. So he's actually just talented at it more than just fearless, right? And I think everybody on our team is fearless. You look at Marty takes one off the head. Weiser and I are taking them all the time. And Dylan Robinson in the Albany game.
Yep.
He just comes flying out. He's coming off an injury, closes the gap, jumps into the shooting lane, and just takes it right off the neck, right? And he just goes down like he got shot, which he kind of did.
I'm sure it felt like it. I mean, probably wish it was a bullet.
Yeah. So everybody's fearless and ready to take it, but I think Paul is exceptionally just really talented at it.
Yeah. Well, and it's that sort of idea of there's talk of like the goalies that don't move. Mm-hmm. Well, is they're not moving because they're already there.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's kind of in that like understanding the angles, understanding with the shooter, understanding the play in the game, and those things. And obviously Dawson does that incredibly well because, again, he has set the record for most block shots in a single season.
Right on.
4 games still to go, right?
Big Doss 02.
That's right. And now, I mean, again, a relatively recent stat, playing more games than we have historically played in the NLL, getting up to 18 games this season. But, I mean, lots goes into it. And again, like you said, that fearlessness and that bravery is something that just can't be taught, right? Like when we talk about, and I'll digress here because again, minor lacrosse is starting to take off here, and we got the kids. We were out in the gym in Huntsville just for an 8 to 9 session, get the sticks warm and stuff like that. And we've got 35 kids showing up at 8 o'clock at night just to be in the gym and be around lacrosse.
Awesome.
And they're asking like, what can we do? Like, because of the age group, it's like U13, it's Ontario tryouts and stuff like that. Like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to try out. I don't know if I should go. I'm not good enough. I'm not even the best guy on this team and stuff like that. And it's like, well, so coach, what do I got to do to be on the team? And it's like, you got all the skills. Now you just got to get the experience and the confidence, right? And when you get that experience and confidence, that's when you start getting that sort of bravery, right? And it's a lot harder to teach bravery alongside of how to pick up a ball or catch it, right? Like I can teach you that. I wish I could teach you bravery because if I did, I could have taught myself that. I wouldn't be here talking lacrosse. I'd be playing it.
But also, teaching bravery and to do the things like going into the corner and picking up a loose ball and you're going to get slashed across the wrist, but it's like you got to go get that ball anyways, or you at least got to take the man out while you're going to get that ball, right? And that just comes from, experience playing, knowing that it's not going to kill you. It's just going to hurt for a minute, but also having comfort that you're going to have backup and the next guy coming in to get that ball, right? I was watching some of the film today and I was like, man, back to like us being comfortable. I was watching the Albany game and I was like, we lost that game, but we surprisingly played really well, at least on defense there. And our offense, they do things well too. They always do things well, but
of course, but
defensively, man, we were like a well-oiled machine. I was watching our rotations and our comfort level with each other, and there was some defensive plays where I was like, man, this might be a perfect defensive play. Just the way there was slides, there was opens, there was spin outs, there was switches, the talk, and then into the loose ball, the gritty loose ball, and then the breakout. I'm like, man, we did a lot of good things right. And I think, heading into this March to May sort of talk right now, and the last half of this, or the last third of these 6 games, it's, that comfort level. I know, again, we lost a game, but the comfort level was there, and there was a lot of good things, man. We're all on the same page, so it's nice going forward. And
we might break down that Albany game a little further, but again, even that game-winning goal, right? 3 seconds left on the shot clock, and it's an over-the-shoulder kind of found goal, right? Like, does that make it? Does that make the loss a little bit easier, knowing that of how they scored that goal? Like, there's a little bit of luck. They obviously stuck with it, and they're going to be a real happy team. Dyson's going to be happy getting the game winner against Buffalo. And it was a Sports Center highlight reel goal. Mm-hmm. Does that make it easier?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
Right. Like, probably.
And again, when we talk about our season, right, you went 5-1, and that you got to be excited about that. Then you go in your next segment, you go 5-1, and now you're 1-1 already, but it's the second game of a back-to-back to lose in overtime, to lose when you've already killed 27 seconds of a shot clock, and he's wrapping it around a defender and inside Vino. Everything's pointing that if he's going to shoot that, it's going across.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Vino said. He goes, if he was a righty, I think he thinks he would have had him, right? But throwing that behind the back, Vino thinks that that's going to go to the far side, and he was able to just sort of hook it short side. Like, that's a tough shot.
But me and the boys were out trying to shoot it because they're trying to do it right. Like, they're learning their over the shoulder and around the world stuff, and they're trying to mimic their favorite players.
Like, to throw that back short, like, there's so much opportunity for you to miss the net short, because you really have to hook it back, right?
Well, and to get it around the defender and between, exactly. Like, there was not much, and so.
But again, back to, like, does it make it easier or not? It must make it easier. It was a tough loss, like, again, with the travel and everything, to put that much effort into something and have the overtime go to 9 minutes of play or whatever it was. You really want to come out with the win on that because you feel like you've given it your all, right? So it's a hard loss in that way. Again, but the easier parts are that, hey, we actually. The fourth quarter and the overtime, like, our defense was basically flawless. A shot goes over the net. That could have came back in front of the net, and Vino could have got it. It could have hit the back of the net and stopped, but instead it hits the post and sort of bounces to a guy that, like, really was just jogging by the net. He wasn't behind the net for any sort of play. Yeah. He was just jogging by the net, and then, Leisure covering a lefty, thinking that he's going to go to the left side. He slips back to his wrong side, and so many things had to go right. And that's what I said to our offense too, was like, hey, let's make sure we're good on our reverse transition in overtime, because we know how overtimes go. They're always junk goals. They're never pretty. Again, there's a pretty shot, but it's a junk goal. Yep. It's still a broken play, right? So it's like these overtimes always come down to broken, junk, gritty, weird goals. And so just protect that transition, reverse. And they did a really good job of that. It's just, that's the way the bounces went at the end of the game.
Yeah. And so, you're still sitting at the top, 11-3. But let's dial it back a little bit, because again, a big part of this podcast is, when we talk lacrosse, we also talk some life and leadership. We had talked in the previous episode about the opportunity to get out to Calgary, and it was going to be the first road trip with the new guys and stuff like that, go out for dinner and stuff. So what was Friday night out in Calgary like?
Friday was awesome. We went to Cactus Club or something. I think there was some talk about going to Earl's or different. Vintage is the big one out there, is the Vintage steakhouse. But went to Cactus Club. We can fit a lot more guys in there, and we all just had a nice team dinner together. Well, unsanctioned team dinner. Just guys, whoever wanted to go out and eat. It was nice, man. It was it was cold, but it was nice getting to know those guys and travel with them. And then after the game. Again, Jackie flew out with me, right? Yep. So after the game, everybody flew home. Jackie and I went off to Banff. Yeah. A little adventure in Banff. And a
little adventure.
Yeah.
Folks, I got to tell you, like, what him and his wife decide to do for vacation and relaxing would have me in traction, or at least laying in bed for a week or more, not thinking about then a back-to-back game the following weekend. But cross-country skiing out into the Rockies. Yeah. You hit like a pretty secluded cabin, and talk a little bit about what that's like, and even in terms of recovery.
Yeah, it's so the day after, so the Sunday was like we took that as a day. We just sort of walked around. Mickey got engaged. Congratulations to Mickey.
That's right.
Him and his wife, or his fiance, and so we went out to dinner with them, and we were able to just sort of have a chill day on that Sunday. And then on the Monday was the ski in. So I don't know if anybody knows like what Banff or the Rockies are like, but there's this place called the Kootenays, and then there's these traverses that go through the Kootenays, so you can cross country ski all the way through these mountains. And at these intersections, there's these like old cabins from like the Ski Alpine Club, And you can stay at these cabins if you want. So basically, Jackie and I skied into one of the first checkpoints. It was like 14K, but it's almost like uphill the whole way because you're going up into the mountains, right?
Quite
like,
literally uphill both ways.
A couple avalanche zones that we had to sort of scoot by. And, they weren't too bad though. There was just like about 300 feet of like.
Did you get good weather at least? Like, was Mother Nature on your side for helping out? Like,
dude, it was said it was going to be cloudy and crap the whole time, but like that's not the way the Rockies are. Like they're just always changing, right? So you'd get like an hour or two of like beautiful sunshine, and then the clouds would roll in, and I kept saying, "Oh, really getting socked in out here." And then the clouds would roll in, and then they'd be gone, and then you'd get sunshine for a bit, then you get a storm, then you get sunshine. So it was that basically on and off the whole time. But
and what are we talking temperature wise? Like we like minus 20 or
no? It was like minus 10. It was like kind of perfect conditions because you know the snow stays hard, but you're not like too cold, and you know you get warm. I was just basically
perfect conditions for skiing 14 kilometers.
It wasn't bad. The hard part was like carrying all our stuff on our back,
sure.
man. Like I haven't really done much skiing, cross country skiing with like all this crap on my back, and that was the harder part. But it was awesome.
A new appreciation for our man Callum.
Oh yeah,
the Courrier de Bois.
Yeah, the gold.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that was good. And then so once you get to the checkpoint sort of thing, it's just all, you're surrounded by mountains, and you know.
And so anybody else there with you guys? There's like one cabin just for you and your wife, or we got like almost like a little village happening.
Yeah, so it's like a village, but there's only like maybe like 8 cabins.
Sure.
So Jackie and I had a cabin, and then there was another couple that had a cabin, and then there was a father and 2 sons.
Yeah,
the dad.
Anybody doing the John Dinner and like choosing to snowmobile in, or
no? But there is a snowmobile that comes back and forth, and they basically run out like so there's like a host that's like sort of just lives there that they, you know, week by week they're there, and you can like write down your room number and just like how many beers you take, because they have like a beer and wine cabin out there. So you know, you write down what you take, and it's sort of like the honor system. And Jackie and I would ski over to the mountain and sit there by the lake, Shadow Lake, and just have, you know, a glass of wine, or you know, it was nuts though, man. There was like some crazy looking tracks out there, crazy looking footprints and stuff, and we were like, so basically when you're skiing, you have to ski on the ski track because it's like packed down. Right. And if you step off of that, you like sink basically 4 feet into the ground, right?
Sure.
You know, like you sink like that. But there were like these tracks that kept meandering past our tracks out there. And I was like, man, bears aren't out yet. So I don't know. We were running it back and forth in our head, and it was pretty big prints, and it wasn't a human. So we were like, man, this might be like cougar, mountain lion sort of tracking somebody out here. We were like, we should go back the other way, back towards the mountain. And that was the only sort of spook we had. The avalanche zones were easy. It was just, you could see the other side, and it's these big funnels that where snow piles up, and then it just runs down these funnels. So you just have to get by them.
Yeah, and they just basically no stopping, right? Like,
there's just no stopping.
Yeah.
It's just like, just keep continuing through there. And but that was that, man. And then flew back on.
But what does a couple of days out in the mountains do for you personally?
Oh, dude, that's my buddy said it the best. He goes, because I sort of gave him my itinerary, because, you know, there is some danger in it, right?
Yeah.
So when my in and out times, and he goes, all right, buddy, go fill your cup.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly what it is. I just need to go fill my cup. I need to just go be out there. I need to do something that's hard, that makes me work, that's also like beautiful and different, and, you know, everything you want in something that's not just regular.
Yeah.
Right? It's like hard. And
and it's something that I've started to take on, I think, since meeting you. I can't think of saying it before, but doing hard things well.
Yeah.
Right. And that we talk about it with my hockey teams and the lacrosse teams, obviously. But I think it just translates into life, right? You guys do this hard thing, but you're getting out to a place where very few people get to.
Yeah.
And you're just getting to be, I mean, for me, being out in the mountains, it's a real like, we're small.
Yeah.
Right? Like the sort of our place in the whole grand scheme of things is like, wow.
This idea that the mountains are calling is real. Like you get there and you're like, I want to go over there. I want to go up into that. Right. But at the same time, they're actually terrifying, because you get really close to them. You're like, they're enormous. Like, enormous.
Like, you just get that feeling. And that's what's so neat about being out in Banff. And again, getting to be an athlete that gets to go and have these opportunities. But yeah, like you said, so now you fly back, you're home for a few days, and then it's back-to-back weekends.
I flew back on the Wednesday, dude. And so we had practice Thursday and then game Friday. So I basically came to the airport, went to St. Catharines, saw my parents for a bit, for that day, and then we were right into practice right into the next weekend. And as much as like it sounds like an adventure in Banff as it was a lot of recovery, right? There were hot springs, so on the Wednesday when we skied out, Jackie and I went to a hot spring, right? There is like a lot of relaxation that comes with it. And we,
and especially when you're doing something that you enjoy, right? Like again, like you said, when you're filling your cup, your muscles and everything else is feeling that too.
And the only thing you have to really make sure you're doing is you're getting sleep.
Yep.
Right. So like that's like, the moving your body all day is the easy part. It's like, how do I make sure I get sleep in these environments, right? So that's what it was. So we got to sleep and then right into practice. And
such a different life. I have no problem sleeping, and it's trying to make sure I get my body moving now that I'm at this age. So mood on practice on Thursday. You guys are coming off a win in Calgary, feeling like you got the doubleheader. Again, sort of like, does that unite the team a little bit when you guys kind of, for lack of a better term, bitch and complain about the schedule?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like you're talking about this week, like the weekend, like the
back-to-backs again. Like you could have gone Friday, Sunday, right? But you guys are going Friday, Saturday again.
Well, it's like, it's tough, right? Because everybody thinks they have a different answer. Like, oh, why are we doing this? We had all these bye weeks, or why are we doing this on back-to-back? Why isn't it Friday, Sunday, or why isn't it, and really we don't have any idea how the schedule gets made or what's going on.
It's availability of arenas and everything else.
You got to trust that the people that are making the schedule are making it the best of their ability, right? So there's that, and then we have our director of operations is awesome. So we have a good relationship with him where he's always like, hey, this is the upcoming schedules and these are the 5 different options of things we can do, or we can mix and match them. When do you guys want to eat? When do you guys want to bus after the game, the next day? Do you want to bus home? Do you want to do whatever? So he's really good at like communicating with us that way and making. And then
who he's communicating these ideas? Who gets to make the decision? You as the C or the leadership group?
Definitely not me. Definitely not me. But I'm in the talks, and if I see something that I red flag, it's that. But mostly it comes down to Buchanan and Vino. Yeah. Right. They're guys that have been around the league probably the longest, and they know these. They're like.
Now, did you guys talk about that as them getting to be the final say, or is that sort of what it evolved into?
There's just like a text message group where there's just like Dane and Josh and me and Weiser and Vino and Bucky, and there's a couple of us in this where Scott will send that thing out, right? And it's like, but basically it comes down to whatever those guys want. Yep. Because they're like real grown-ups, man. They got kids, they got schedules, and they know what's going on, and they know what's best, and they've done it. They've been on different teams, and they've seen. For me, I'm just basically just take everybody. Like, I don't know, man. I'll just do whatever. It's fine. Like, I'll figure it out, and I don't have routines or much or anything. So,
and you're a guy that's. You still have that sort of belief in yourself that you're ready for anything at all with any time, right? Whereas maybe these guys, again, a bit more creatures of habit, guys that have, like you said, seen it all. But
it's like, it's not stuff I know. Like if Scott was asking me, hey, what defense should we play? Like, yeah, of course I'll have an opinion. Yeah. But I mean, like, hey, when should we eat, or what can we do, or these are options, or when should we bust? It's like, I have no idea. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what my body will feel like. I'll just, whatever's good, man. Like, cause it's like, I don't know. It's the same thing here where it's like, a lot of times there's surveys and things sent out of how do you feel about the schedule and this time. I'm like, I don't know. I've never known any other schedule than this schedule. So how am I supposed to know if something's bad? I'll leave that up to the people who have done different schedules and have seen other things. And so they should speak up, and I'll just sort of, if I see any red flags, I'll kind of like just say it, but it's mostly I trust the people in charge. Let's go.
So Thursday's a good practice. It's a doubleheader. You got Vegas, who sits at the bottom of the table, and I think when we get to breaking down the game, it's a well-earned spot at the bottom of the table. And then and then Albany.
I just caught that.
Easy for me to say sitting in a chair, right?
They're a good team.
No, of course they're a good team.
Everybody's good in this league. That's why it's so tight. But
But again, I mean, they are at the bottom, and they're young, and you guys came out and get an 8-0 quarter on them, right?
They have a young goalie.
Yeah,
that's like. Man, when you think about teams, it's if I had to talk about basketball and say, hey, who's the best player to build a team around? If I was doing that in lacrosse, I would find a goalie first. Yeah, like you build your team around your.
Well, you look at what's happening in Vancouver with Del Bianco, right? Like
they all of a sudden became dangerous. Well, they were dangerous.
Yeah, but it's like this solidified it, and now they're on a run. And again, we'll look at them.
We got them coming up, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. But it goes back to that whole Vino question of being the best player in the world, right? Or best player of all time, like because being a goalie.
You think about goalies are so far and few between. You have kind of like your top couple elite goalies, and then you have like this middle of the pack that's like good enough to win you games, and they're good goalies. And then you have, you know, a couple teams kind of have, not that I'm not blaming, whatever, they're not listening to this, but it's like like Vegas's goalies, like they're Struggleville, right? Yeah. They're Dane's scoring from the corner, and guys are throwing shots at them like our guys throw shots that they've probably never seen before, right? Like you don't want to see Josh sweeping over the top, throwing one far side, the next two, or he's pulling them back, and then the next one it looks like he's pulling them back, and he throws a twister and pushes it, and it all kind of look the same coming over the top. Like if you're standing in that, like good luck trying to read that, right?
So I get back to Thursday then to practice, like knowing you've got these 2 games coming up. What's the chatter? Are you guys breaking down each team? Are you guys going in there? It's recovery because of the 2 games. You guys are taking it maybe a little bit easier on that Thursday night?
No, we went pretty good on the Thursday. But it was very Vegas focused. It was all Vegas focused. Yep. That's the way we do it. Like it's this practice is for Vegas, and then tomorrow we'll that's why these back-to-backs, man, they're always so hard, because it's not only your body's beat up, but like your preparation, you're only getting a couple hours on a bus ride to sort of go over video and film and try to figure this out at the same time, trying to get enough fluids in you so you're not cramping on a bus, right? But yeah, it was Vegas focused. It was Jack Hanna's a dangerous player out there, right? They run a lot of, you know, different looks, and they play a lot behind the net, which is sometimes tough for us if we don't have a good game plan. If it's something we're not expecting, then guys behind the net can usually get us. But yeah, man, they're athletic. They're a decent team, man. They just need a couple pieces.
And so would you say that first quarter you come out, you drop 8 on them? Obviously that looks great from the offensive side of things, but it's you put up a 0 on the defensive side of things. Is that the plan coming to fruition, or is that just a fact of like, this is also a talent divide?
It's probably a talent divide, to be honest. Like,
do you guys feel like you played a perfect quarter?
Maybe, probably not.
Yeah. Because again, you look at it, you'd love to go win a game 32-0, right? If you're extending out a quarter.
Yeah, that's why it's funny when you get over 8-0. It's almost the worst thing that could happen to you sometimes.
Well, and I think it almost did, right? Because you can't help it. Like we've talked about it, right? Like as soon as you're saying, like, "Hey guys, we got to focus," your focus is already gone, right? 8-0. It's hard to keep that foot on the gas and want it, like, because nobody's out to embarrass anybody.
We were amped coming out of that tunnel, man. We were like the feeling coming into that game was different than a lot of feelings. We were, I don't know what it was, but
you can't attribute it to anything. You think?
I don't know, not necessarily. It's
familiarity.
I think it's like coming off of that Calgary game and how comfortable that was and how well everything felt and how things were going so smoothly. It was like we were just amped, ready to play. We were itching to play. We wanted to get back out there, and you know, the first quarter was a testament to that, right? And it's like, I don't know for sure.
So then we get to the other end of it. Right now we're in the fourth quarter. Are we squeezing our sticks a little tighter? Like, was there ever any nervous?
I don't know. It's not like it's not nerves. Like you kind of knew you were going to win. But
yeah, well, that's like I was trying to keep my boys interested in the game by like trying to break things down. Like it's already over. They've already won. I'm like, well, it's close. They're within 5 goals, and they're not going to win.
I know. It's like, well, then you look at the Albany game, and it's like we're down 3 with a couple minutes left, and our boys stick 3 in. Right? It's like so you really aren't ever out of it. But I didn't feel nervous at any point with the Vegas game, but at the same time, it started creeping in a bit of like I got to play again tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm trying really hard right now, and I'm you don't want it to take over, but it kind of does. Yeah,
again, human nature, and just your body saying, "Why are you pushing the ball up here right now when we're up 8?"
We're up 8. Like I don't need to go crazy right now.
And I've got a game tomorrow, and we're going to be sitting on the bus, and this is like I guess the next. So you come out of the game, you got your win, you finish your segment 5-1. You got your first win in the next segment, and it's travel time. And you guys going just down the highway to Albany have decided to take the bus overnight.
Yeah.
What's the sort of thinking behind that? Why would players want to be like, I'm going to be up till 3:00 in the morning anyways?
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right? Yep. It's like it's hard to sleep after games. You're so amped up and your body's sort of aching, and you know, you're going through every play in your head, and I don't know. We're crazy like that, right? Where it's like you're just constantly thinking about lacrosse, so it's hard to fall asleep after games.
So are you guys doing?
You might as well just bus.
And so are you guys doing video and chatting about the game there, or is it still kind of informal?
It's informal video. So, So coaches are breaking down film, but we're like on our phones in the back watching other games and watching things that are going on and rewinding plays from the game and just typical bus ride stuff, right? But the last like hour and a half or 2 hours is just torture because you're like, get me there, like get me to a bed, because now you're ready for bed.
I mean, you got a nice bus, but it's still a bus, right?
It's still a bus. It's not a sleeper or anything. You're still sitting up on a coach bus, and then it's like you get there and you go up to your room and it's 3:30 in the morning. You're sitting there staring at the ceiling now till 4 o'clock, and then I wasn't sure if we were gonna have shoot around in the morning, but JT's like wanted to go over a couple things, and so it wasn't intense or anything, but we still had to wake up and go do it.
So what time was shoot around?
8 a.m. bus, 9 a.m. shoot around, and
so
or video.
I mean, at best, the best sleep was maybe 3.5 hours.
Dude, my whoop strap didn't even register asleep.
Yeah,
it's just my heart. It means my heart rate didn't come down under like 80 or whatever.
Right.
Like I was just still up the whole time. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's you're looking at 3-4 hours sleep, and then.
And so then it's shoot around in the morning and then some video? Or?
Yeah, shoot around was actually awesome though, man. We have this guy, Matt Meyer, that's is like a deep tissue guy.
Yeah.
And he did some work on us, and I was loose after shoot. I was like, after shoot around, I was like, let's play the game. Yeah. Like, I feel ready to go.
Yeah.
But it was nice to go have lunch and then get like a good sleep, like a like zonked out like nap. Like you just wake up and you're like, whoa, what dimension am I in? Like
sure.
I was just out. Then you get ready for the game, sort of go back to Matt and let him loosen your legs again and get out there.
Now, as captain, are you having to say things to these guys at this point in their careers? Like, is there someone that you got to go and remind and be like, "Hey, Milkman, like, you like get a rest here. Like, we don't want to be going out and taking in the sights and sounds of Albany."
Dude,
no,
not
but you
not
know
on
what I
our
mean.
team. Not on our team. Our team's there's too many vets. Everybody's grown up, but
and that just trickles on down to the new guys, right? Like they just look around, they got nobody else to do it with, so might as well do what everybody's else.
Everybody's just so tired too. Yeah. But it was funny though, man. It was like so Matt Meyer was working on Zach Belter, right? He's getting him loose, and there was me, Weiser, Vino, and Paulie all waiting, sort of for Matt, and Farrell comes in and he's like, hey Belter, he's like, what are you doing on the table? You got these guys all waiting here for you. He's got a Long Island accent. Hey, these guys all waiting here for you. You got the best goalie ever to play. He's 42 years old. You got it. You're on the table. You got this guy sitting right here. He's like, what are you doing? Get off the table. Dude, I was dying, and then we were all laughing. It kind of calmed down, and then Belts goes, all right, Matt, that's a good for me. I'm good.
I will take the point.
Yeah, I was like, that's good. We're good. Dude, I was dying laughing. I was like, because none of us care. We just take our turn. But it's like to have a guy like Milkman come in and say, and he's just so boisterous and big and his big smile, and he's the guy that's going to be able to like say stuff, right? He's just so funny like that. So it was kudos to him, man. He's so funny.
Oh, that's great. And so it's game time and it's Albany. They're jacked. And oh my gosh. Completely. I mean, the win in Vegas, or the win over Vegas, gets you the Tucker Cup.
Tucker Cup.
That was pretty special,
dude. There's so many emotions attached to it, right? Especially with Willie being there and like having and handing it over, and just the thoughts and thinking about what that means, and that's a thing now in our league. Like that's awesome. And
when we talk about Vegas, and I mean tongue in cheek and whatever else, but that's also a big thing for them. To see how important it was to you guys to win that, right? Like, these are guys like, I mean, for all purposes, it's a nothing game in the middle of a season, but now we've added something to it, and of course they know they wanted to play for their coach and they wanted to play well for him, and they knew how important it was, but then they come out and it's like, geez, like these guys, not only do they want it, but it seems important to them.
Yeah, and I think David Brock was on our team during all that, and he plays for Vegas.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't even know if any of the other guys were in the league yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, yeah, it has different meanings to everybody, right? And, it was really nice to stand up there with Willie and Dane and Weiser and sort of think about what the four of us sort of shared together and to, raise that cup, and, we got the first one, so...
It's a really nice piece of hardware too.
It's actually gorgeous.
Like really, really nice.
Yeah.
And so
it's definitely nicer than the NLL Cup.
But I mean, and this is again one of the great things about being a captain. And I know a humble guy like you don't ever really see yourself in this way, but like being over there and getting the first picture with the cup and being there with Willie, and like how special was that for you?
I think it sinks in more later. Right.
When you can look back on the pictures and
you
stuff.
look back on the pictures and things. Actually, literally the next day when you're looking back on the pictures, you're like, holy crap. Like, that's wild. Like, I don't know. It's, again, there's so much emotion tied to it. And it's a cool thing. And it's, you almost want it to grow. I don't know how it would grow, with the 3 teams, it's good, but I wonder if there's a way to include sort of more teams or,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's cool that it's Dyson and Sean and us, right? But what happens when Dyson retires?
Or Sean goes and coaches in Vancouver.
Exactly, right? Yep. So it's like, I wonder if there's a way for it to grow and sort of incorporate more points or more teams, almost maybe like an in-season tournament with the NBA, right? Yep. Where it's like, hey, this is a Tucker Cup game. Not only this is a regular season game, but this is a Tucker Cup game, and that's a Tucker Cup game, and that's a Tucker Cup game, right? So it's like, and you add up the points, and maybe at the end of the season, that's awarded, or right before playoffs, that's awarded to a team that gets. Maybe that's the way to go. Incorporate sort of everybody.
But so were you guys? Was that part of the motivation on Friday night? Was like sort of get it out of the way?
There were so many things. Like, we were thinking, like, okay, there was a Tucker Cup. There was Tucker Cup. It was also National Down Syndrome Day.
Right.
Plus, Steve Dietrich, our coach, just had neck surgery, so he's got a couple plates. He's got all sorts of stuff going on with his neck, but he's okay. But he's going to be out the rest of the season, come till playoffs.
Sure.
So you have those 3 things already to play with. Then you have Nielsen getting his debut.
First shot, first goal. That's pretty good.
Oh my gosh! If you don't have something to play for today, you got to reach into a different bag.
Yeah.
Today's there's enough out here, to keep going.
Yeah. And so then, had you guys lost, it would have made the Albany game again with a little bit more juice to it, right? Was that sort of the hope when you looked at the schedule? Like, let's put this one to bed so we have one less thing to think about or worry about come Saturday?
I don't know. It's funny, man. It's like when you look at the schedule, you don't think about all those other things lining up, right? Yeah. Kind of like when teams were like, because Vegas and Albany are both sort of near the bottom. I think Albany has to win.
They got to win out. Yeah.
Win out, right? So it's like, you don't really think about necessarily the Tucker Cup, but you are looking at this weekend as like, man, it should be 2 wins for us. Mm-hmm. Obviously it wasn't, but it should be, right? Like, this is, if you're going to have a back-to-back, it's better to have Albany and Vegas than it is to have, San Diego and Toronto.
Right.
Or
yeah.
Like that, right?
Well, yeah, we'll say.
Which we did have.
We'll say San Diego and Colorado, because Colorado's still up there.
But the Toronto-San Diego back-to-back was a nightmare, man.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks. That one's way harder than this one, even though the travel and everything's harder. It's like both those games we're trying to kill each other. And in these 2 games, we're trying to play lacrosse.
Yeah. And so we get into Saturday's game, and again, I think defensively got to be pretty happy. Offensively, maybe not as happy as they'd been coming out of Calgary when they had been stalled in the week before in Calgary. They feel like and then they come out and they drop an 8 on Vegas. They got to be feeling pretty good. Were they frustrated on?
I don't know what they think up there, because it's got to be the same as defense, where they're finding good in everything, mm-hmm. right? But there's also bad in a lot of things. When you look at that Albany game, it's like we sat Cam Wires on D, we sat Tom Whitty on D, Dahoka on offense, right? Like, we sat Chase the first game, and then Dahoka the second, right? Give those guys who kind of play inside to get beat on a bunch, that give them sort of a break. Not that they want it or need it, but that's coach's decision. And then, so it's, your lineup isn't the usual lineup, right? And I think a guy like Dahoka up front really, he implements the game. He affects the game in a way of not just like how he plays, right? He notices a lot that's going on, and he notices a lot of plays. If you look in the Calgary game, it was like, man, I don't know if it was a play or not, but he ended up getting the ball sweeping high and had like a wide open look. And then at the same time, he noticed that Buchanan was behind the net and sort of snuck out from behind the net.
That pass was...
you saw that. That dump pass right down to Bucky right on the crease, and just a little tap in goal. And I'm like, he gives up that shot high percentage shot for a higher percentage shot, because he noticed that.
He went from an 88% chance of scoring to 100% chance.
Yeah, he notices that things. He notices that he notices tendencies in defense and he exploits it. Right. So having him out, he works really well with Chase. So having them off of it, not playing with each other either game probably hurt both their games. But those two usually play really well together, and Bucky and Dane usually play really well together. So yeah, I don't know. It's there's that's sort of tied into everything, and Clay Scanlon didn't play this weekend, but he's another guy that's like chomping at the bit. Like, he brings a lot of energy and I don't know. Our offense is good. They just got to put the ball in the net. Like,
yep.
At the end
and
of
so
the day.
did Albany do anything that
They changed their defense?
They did. Oh, that's
they changed. They were pushing guys. They were pushing us up in the past, so they would kind of force everything up from the creases towards the middle almost, and then Dougie would save everything that was sweeping over the top. And now they've changed it to, I would say, a more traditional style of more pushing guys down the lanes and pushing guys low.
And so do you think that's a system they're going to stick with, or was that a Buffalo change?
No, that's what they'll stick with. They've done the last couple of games.
Yep.
And they've won the last couple of games. So I think that's a good change by them. They've kind of made it like tighter and more packed. And
two game winners from off the stick of Dyson Williams, and so that's the last one that I want to sort of, before we start looking forward. We talked about it earlier in the episode about that loss maybe being easier to take because of how it happened. Did Dyson Williams, him scoring it, because of the history, does that feel nice for him?
Oh, for sure for him.
But I mean, when you're looking at, are you happy for him?
Dude, so it was like, so he scored and I was like, and I was kind of looking at the replay and I was like, what in the hell happened, right? And it's like this, and then, he scored and it is what it is. And then as we get to the handshake line, I just gave him the biggest hug, and I was just so proud of him and happy for him, right? It's like, he's so good. He's doing so good. He's carrying himself well. He carries his team well. He scores the goals he needs to score. He's facilitating. He's not complaining. Like, it must be a tough team to play on too, where it's like there's a lot of shooters and a lot of ball carriers, right? So he's having to find his role and do it. He's just carrying himself as a person so well, and I couldn't be any happier for him. Again, it sucks that he scored on us, but like, so happy with him. Like, if it was gonna be anybody, and I feel like giving him a big hug right now.
Yeah. Well, you won't have that chance until maybe the playoffs if you cross paths with them. And they're, like we said, they're going to have to win out. Like a number of teams are going to have to win out, because really right now the only team that's eliminated is the Vegas Desert Dogs. And you and Sask are the two teams that have clinched playoff spots. And now it's jostling, right? With basically 4 weeks to go.
Yeah.
We've got, and you guys are playing every week.
Big surprise.
But do you guys as players start looking at the standings and start looking at like, who are we going to play? Who's going to get that 7th or 8th seed? Like,
not yet, but it's on our minds.
Yeah. Like, and
totally.
just as players and fans of the game, as opposed to maybe necessarily like scheming and strategizing.
Yeah, like as fans of the game, right? Being like, oh man, maybe we'll end up like Georgia lost again.
Yeah,
like
they still sit there right now. If playoffs were to start this week, it'd be a rematch of last year.
I know, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, this team's, I find that team very talented, right? And it's, yes, if we match up with them, that's fine. But it's like, I thought they'd be sort of near the top.
But man, you look at the games that they've lost, and it's like, man, couple of overtime losses. They lost to Albany on a last-second Dyson Williams goal.
Yeah,
like it's been tough. They went out to Vancouver and lost a tough one, right? With Del Bianco standing on his head.
So we do look at that stuff though. We look at like, man, we might end up with Georgia or Toronto, which are both like dangerous teams. You might end up with Albany, right?
Could end up with Vancouver.
Like, man, teams are so good. So you got to kind of. Yes, we're preparing sort of for everybody, but and we're not worried about who we sort of play. But that one game, do or die, is like, it's nerve-wracking.
And so, I mean, and now as you look at your last 4 games, and we went through it, and I can't remember the exact order of what we got, but you guys start with Vancouver, who potentially could be a playoff opponent in that first round in a 1-game playoff. Does that come into sort of what you guys are dreaming and scheming of when you're playing against them? Like, we don't want to show them everything, or are we still just like, it's the regular season, we got to get the W and let's go?
No, it's you don't show them everything.
Yep.
Like, Defensively, we do what we do. It's sort of, we try to dictate on defense, and it's okay to play things how you're going to play them, right? It's because defense is more of like you're making adjustments all game. So we'll just play we'll just do our research and play our defense regularly. But I don't think offense shows them everything.
Especially against a goalie like Del Bianco, who's got that like computer chip in his brain that seems to remember everything about every shooter that's ever shot on him.
Yeah, it does really. I think they'll do like they'll run like their systems, and they'll run certain things that they have been running all game. But it's like if they notice something, they might not take advantage of it right away. They might wait. They might wait a bit. So again, running plays only gets you sort of. I feel like running a play only gets you one goal because now the team's seen it and they're going to adjust to it. But if you run tendencies and you find tendencies in defenses and you take advantage of those are what's going to pay off more in the long run, right? You got to score 12, 15 goals in a game, right, to sort of win. And a play or a 6-on-5, like that's where it comes down to like 6-on-5s and power plays and last minutes and TV timeouts. It's like maybe we don't show them everything. Again, if they do their research, though, they'll probably find something out there. It's just if you have 5 tricks in your bag, they don't know which one they're going to pull out. And that leads me to a good point, right? Where it's like playing against Albany, kudos to Nick Weiss. He recognized, he's like, I think, because, Albany has like 3 or 4 different things they do out of the 6-on-5s. So kudos to Nick Weiss. He sort of recognized, like, he goes, hey, I think they're going to do, I think it was either Firth or Walker. He's like, he's going to be a high seal down on him, and then he's going to try to slip to the net, and so they'll try to draw me off to the side with the ball on the right side, and it's going to come to one of those 2 players coming down the middle. So he's like, Breeze, just hold this side, leave that guy over there. They're going to try to jam it into the middle over here. And, it was a great read by him and sort of gave me such good confidence. He got sealed. He just jumps out at Dyson. That guy slips to the middle, so he basically let him slip, knowing that I'm going to be there. And he jumps out, and I just pick up that guy in the middle, and they again, they try to jam it in there, and it's just all over him. And our 6-on-5 is about sort of reading plays, so maybe we don't throw everything at that Vancouver team.
And vice versa, right? Because they're going to be. But
well, that's Kurt Malosky. Kurt Malosky's very like he loves systems and plays, and they're very robotic in which and how they play it. They just make tweaks to it. They're successful because they do things like that. It's like, hey, we're going to start with A, and then we're going to add A and B, and then we're going to go AC, and then we're going to go different looks all the time with the same sort of setup, because it's harder to read when if you're starting low and somebody's picking down and the guy's going to sweep high and you don't know if he's going to throw it back or if he's going to swing it over or if they're going to reseal, right? So it's like having the same setup but robotic in a way with different adjustments based on the teams is like, again, that's a tougher thing to pick up than hey, if they start high, they're going to do this, and if they start low, they're going to do this. Then it's easy reads all the time.
Yep. And so as we get ready, it is excuse me, it is Saturday night game, 7:30 in Bandit Land, and it is bringing in arguably the second best goalie in the world, and Christian Del Bianco. But Vancouver's more than just their goalie. What else should Bandit Land be thinking about when they want to chirp the Warriors?
They are a big, tough, strong, athletic defense. With Dilks and Beers and Mitski and these guys and Cornwall, and they're, Reed Bowering and these guys, they're athletic, they're big, they're strong, they're tough, they're nails, they're a good squad. And then their offenses, like I said, they're very systematic and they pick you apart pretty well. And Keegan Ball is just a crazy shot. He really likes to sort of jab step and shoot around you. Even if you're ready for it, he still sort of finds a way to reach all the way around you, and he can still pull it back short side. So that's his sort of dangerous thing to think about in his move. But they're a good squad, so we're going to have to, film is going to be important, and it's going to be really important for our offense to get through the middle. Can't be worried about next week or the week after or anything like that, or summertime ball or anything. Our offense needs to get through the middle. They call it getting through the wash. Push through, push those guys deep. You're going to take 2, 3, 4 shots getting through, but that's what it's going to take to sort of drive them in and open up the next guy. If you watch, man, Josh has been so good on it. In Albany, it's like, you're talking about the MVP last year, coming down, sets a big, hard pick, gets hit, does a spin pick, and then seals his man all the way in, and that's when McKay, who is able to sweep over top and fire that shot. And we need more things like that this weekend where you're getting, our guys that are normally goal scorers, they got to get through the middle too. They got to push through. They got to take the hits as well. And they do, but it's going to be extra important in this game against Vancouver.
And so last thing on this, and so you guys have clinched a playoff spot. These guys are fighting for their playoff lives. How does that sort of manifest itself in the preparation and lead up? You know that these guys are desperate, and you guys are kind of like, how do you keep that foot on the gas knowing that wins or losses, you're in the playoffs, which is the ultimate goal?
We lost last game, so we're all pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's exactly what it is. It's like, for us, it's
so is that a good loss then in Albany?
It depends. I don't know. I can't see the future.
For sure. But I mean, in terms of timing, it's far enough away from the end of the season, but it gets you kind of grumpy and facing and giving you some motivation.
It's like the stock market, man. It's going to have these dips,
Yep.
but it needs to trend upwards. And we're hoping to keep trending upwards, right? If you get too many of these losses or bad games in a row, you start trending downwards. And you want to get that. We need to be going on an upward trajectory, because come playoffs, you got to be up here and you started down here. And that's going to be the motivation for us is getting back on the same page, because we're not thinking about this game as us versus them. We're thinking about this game as us versus us, and we need to push and get forward and do things better, because we're preparing for that first game of playoffs. So I guess in a way of answering your question is, yes, we are thinking about playoffs, but it's like very important to continue that upward trajectory and get back on the same page.
Well, Banditland, you got a chance to witness it. It's going to be a fantastic game, really physical game. Two big defenses looking to try to stymie two pretty great offenses. And then again, like I said, two of the best goalies to have ever played the game are going to be standing in the pipes at either end. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, I think there's still a couple left. It's going to be a good one. Steve, thanks. This was an extended episode we thought it would be, but another good one. I thank you for your time, and there's, like I said, nothing better than talking lacrosse with the captain. This has been Dinner with the Captain. I'm John Dinner. This is Steve Priolo. Thanks so much, pal.
Appreciate you, buddy.
All right, and thanks to Lake of Bays, future sponsor of this great podcast.
Bye.